Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Lowdown episode number 2. I'm here by my very first in-person guest, Matt Nguyen. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Lorenzo.
Thanks, Matt. So if you want to just briefly introduce yourself and kind of go over your background.
Yeah, my name is Matt Nguyen. I live on the central coast of California, if anybody's familiar with that, San Luis Obispo County. I grew up in San Jose in the Bay Area. Went down there for college, fell in love with the area. I'm a surfer, so I love the ocean. I love the mountains. And any place where I can surf and hike and have lunch before noon, it's a great thing. So that's where I am. And yeah, I have 2 dogs. Own my primary and towards the beach and kind of living the life. Got involved in real estate probably about 2 years ago. Have a couple single family homes under my belt. Have a couple other investment properties that I invest in as a limited partner. And then also just getting into like the commercial multifamily space. So it's kind of who I am.
Love it. And what exactly got you into real estate?
So I've always been kind of in the .com tech space. And everybody talks about financial freedom. And as I was researching more, I think the aha moment came when I bought my primary and then being in California, watching it appreciate. And I'm like, oh, huh. There's more to this than just buying a home and living in it. And so just asked a lot of questions about people. I'm like, all these people that have properties from out of state and working part-time and managing their properties. I'm like, well, tell me about this. And just as I was learning about how people are leveraging their properties and using it as a way to build that financial freedom and not waiting till like 62 and a half to retire, like most people kind of anticipate, it really sparked my interest. And that's kind of like the path I wanted to go down. Obviously, like watching all the social media videos with Grant Cardone and Bigger Pockets and all those things, it really got me interested in not only like owning the assets, but then also leveraging it and like progressing that piece of my life and my financial future.
I love that. Yeah, this was definitely my first intro to real estate also is buying this condo.
Nice.
And so I bought this condo, like I said, about 10 years ago. And since then, it's almost appreciated like 300,000 or something like that. And obviously, you get the benefits of equity pay down and all that stuff. So yeah, lots of amazing things. What is your why and why you want to really go into all this real estate stuff?
My why? That's a big loaded question. I have a couple whys. Or actually, I guess a few whys. The biggest one is financial freedom. Like being in the tech startup space, what I realized when I was in that space is that I was helping somebody else fulfill their dreams. And I'm like, I'm not really fulfilling my own dreams. I'm like, everything that I'm doing is like the ideas that I bring forth and with my job are great, but you realize that it's somebody else's company that you're building. And I wanted to build something for myself. And so part of the like real estate is building that financial future for myself and building something for my own. But then it's also a place for me. I have this thing called like, I want to save the world one gift card at a time. I had a point in my life where I was really struggling. I had my back against the wall and had a point in my life where I had to choose between paying groceries and paying my rent. I'm like, I can't do both. This is kind of a dark place for me to be in. It was during 2008, during the last recession, and somebody sent me, anonymously, I still know who that person is, sent me a $300 gift card.
Wow.
And it was at that point, I'm like, oh, I just needed that break to get through that period of my life. So I was able to pay rent and pay groceries for a little bit. And after that, it was like one of those things, I'm like, I don't know who sent this to me, but I want to just give back just because of that moment. And so that's kind of why I have that coin term of saving the world one gift card at a time. I want to build this portfolio where, cool, I can pay for my expenses on my own, but then also build that enough where I can just give back without question, right? If somebody's having health issues and they need to pay doctor's bills, it'd be awesome just be like, here's a check. Or, hey, you know what, like something happened in our family, we lost a family member, we don't know what to do to pay rent. It's like, cool, here's a check to pay your rent. So that's kind of like my dream and my big audacious hairy goal to be able to provide that. My second why is kind of giving back to and teaching the next generation about financial freedom and real estate. I have 2 goddaughters One's 2. The other one is 6 months. And it's my ultimate dream, another hairy, audacious goal is buy them property and build that with them as they grow up. Obviously, they're super young right now, but as they kind of approach the junior high years, their teen years, kind of teach them more about finances more beyond just what they learn in school. I'm like, hey, here's this essentially seed asset that I've bought for you. Let's learn about it, learn how to leverage it, how to use it, and then use that as a way for not only just to pay for their college or whatever they want to do after high school, but then also have it be their seed property into their own financial future and teaching them along the way.
That's amazing and definitely very powerful. I love that you want to be the one who seems to be breaking generational wealth and bringing that into your goddaughters or their lives. And so, yeah, that's amazing. I definitely want to do that for my family as well. I think a lot of people don't really have too much background or knowledge in financial stuff, honestly. And so, like me being an older brother of 5, I'd always do things to like help my little siblings. So like for all their birthdays, I try and buy them like Rich Dad, Poor Dad and other things because I obviously didn't have that myself. And so I want to be changing their mindset at a very early age also. So I think that's definitely something we connect in.
Yeah.
So do you do this real estate stuff full time, or I know you mentioned marketing a little bit. How do you balance both? Or
Oh man, balance is probably like the worst trait for me. Like I don't have really great balance. I do both. So what currently pays the bills is this marketing consulting business that I built. I really like marketing, just one of the things I just really enjoy doing. I've been doing that for well over almost 2 decades. When I say well over a decade, almost 2 decades. And then I'm doing the real estate stuff on the side, but more than the side, I guess. And so I'm trying to figure out acquiring properties. Luckily, I went the property management route, and so I have somebody managing my properties for me. But as far as the learning and and trying to acquire properties, it's another job,
totally.
lack of better words.
Yeah. So were you ever like in a marketing company before, like as an employee, or did you always kind of build your own business like from the ground up?
Yeah, I've always been in a W-2. I worked for a number of companies. I was on the agency side for a while, and then I went to the tech startup world for a little bit. And then last year, it's been about a year. Wow, time flies. Last year, I just, I don't know, kind of hit that moment. Like I'm kind of over this building somebody else's dream, and I want to do something on my own. So I want to build something for myself. So I quit without anything planned. And,
Congrats.
Decided to start my own consulting business. And it's been challenging, but great so far. And it's also opened up the opportunity and time for me to put more time into real estate and what I want to do there.
That's amazing. I definitely want to be my own boss at some point. I think everyone wants to be their own boss, have their own freedom. But do you feel like, when you become your own boss, you all of a sudden start working way more hours than before when you're in W-2? Is that true?
That's very, very, very true. I guess I've always been, a workaholic in a sense, but when you are your own boss, the hours that you put in, you know that are benefiting you and your own business. So you definitely put in a lot more hours than just the standard 9 to 5, 40 hours a week. There's always something new to do. Scale is going to be this year's goal for me, is how to scale my business and do the things that I really like doing, and hiring people to do the things that that don't drive me, right? So that's a learning piece that I've had to figure out, that I can't do it all on my own, and I need to figure that piece out in order to scale.
Totally. How many employees do you have working with you right now?
I do not have any employees.
Oh, okay.
So it's just me. I have a handful of subcontractors that I sub some work out to.
Okay.
But right now it's just me. But I do realize that in order to scale, I need it to be beyond just me.
Yes. And you said you do digital marketing?
Digital marketing, demand generation, correct.
Okay. And what companies do you typically market for?
The companies my niche is B2B software, specifically in the developer tool space. That's kind of like my background with the W-2s that I've had. So I understand dev tools and developers and engineers and how to market to them.
Okay. And how are you finding clients and getting leads right now?
That's been primarily word of mouth and people that I worked with in the past, building those relationships and just them just appreciating my work and having those conversations. And so, yeah, the majority of my business has been word of mouth. I'm realizing that there's only so much that's available. So I'm starting to push into the lead generation. I guess doing lead generation for my own lead generation business, as far as like prospecting and getting new business with people that don't know me.
Interesting. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm definitely learning that marketing is everything, especially in real estate. If you don't have deal flow or deals coming in, yeah, your business is screwed. And so that's definitely something I want to pick up, especially with my flipping stuff. I eventually want to start marketing, whether that's like direct to seller or doing any kind of like outreach to agents and stuff like that. Because right now I feel like, at least for the flipping stuff, I'm just going directly to Zillow.
Yep.
And I feel like that's definitely not enough.
Right.
You got to really market yourself, whether that's through PPC, like pay-per-click, or doing cold calling, whatever. And so I think I'm going to start doing cold calling and texting people, but we'll see.
Nice.
So, yeah. So going back to real estate, can you briefly walk us through your very first deal ever? I mean, besides your primary, so what was your first investment deal?
Yeah, my first investment deal was a rehab project in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's a 4.2. I'm trying to remember the square footage. I think it's like 1,400 square feet. It was a property that was, I believe, inherited by some heirs where I think their parents passed away. It was in bad, not also like terrible shape, but it was in bad shape, and it sounded like they didn't really want to go through the process of rehabbing that property. Found that on the MLS with my agent. My agent's a rock star in Tulsa.
Nice.
And was able to negotiate it down to, I think, purchase price was $125,000. It was a surface level rehab, so new flooring, new counters, new paint, nothing structural or like foundational. So that was a good sign. Put about $35,000 into it, and then it ARV'd for, I think, just around $200,000.
Wow, that's amazing. How did you go from your primary to Tulsa? Because I feel like that's just like crazy, at least for me to even think about. So I don't know if there was like a thought process for going out of state or whatnot, but yeah, I feel like for most people that sounds kind of scary. So
yeah,
how'd you get over those challenges?
Going out of state is an interesting thing. I think once you break it down in simple terms, like say that you decided to buy it, like, hey, no, I can't do out of state. I need to see the property in person. In my own backyard, maybe like, you know, the markets and whatever not, but in reality, at least in my case, I don't know construction. I don't know if you were asking me like, if there's plumbing issues, I wouldn't know where to start. So you end up just calling people to fix things for you anyway. So in this case, same aspect, you just don't see the property in person. Like even if I were to show up at that property, what would I actually do? So then you come to that aha moment. You're like, oh yeah, like I do the same things, but I just need to have like eyes and boots on the ground that I trust in order to facilitate those things for me. So when you look at investing out of state, it's imperative to have a team that you trust, boots on the ground, your eyes, and not just like one person, like multiple people, so they can give you different points of view. Like I mentioned, my agent, who's also my property manager, she's a rock star in that deal, and that's why I was able to do a rehab project on my first property, because she kind of pieced it together. She brought in the contractors for me. She scheduled them out, got me scopes of work. I reviewed them out. I did some interviews, and then we were able to get going pretty quickly. And she helped manage the scope of work and a little bit of timeline, and just doing the due diligence of looking at the work the contractor was doing, and also the timelines, making sure that we're staying on track. So that was great having her there. And then the contractor that I picked was incredible as well. Like he was just happy to do video walkthroughs with me on a regular basis, kept me up to date on the project, and so that made that project I won't say like super easy, but made it more palatable, especially when you've never done a rehab project before. I've never done like a lot of rehab on my own like primary property, but just having those pieces in place made it a lot more comfortable for me to do.
That sounds like an amazing and perfect first deal. Were there any challenges or anything that went wrong during it?
Nothing major. I think there was a lot of things that I missed that I wish I kind of stayed on top of. There was a bit of scope creep. It did take a little bit longer than we originally planned. In natural terms, like once you start tearing walls apart and seeing things, you're like, oh yeah. Like I think one of the issues was they put They put a bathroom enclosure in and ran the water and realized that the pipes behind the wall were leaking. So they had to rip it all out and then fix the plumbing and then put the enclosure back. And so that cost me a little extra money. So having a little bit more due diligence, having eyes on different pieces. I think the big thing I learned in that is actually outlining the walkthrough notes and making sure there's check boxes for everything that I want to look at instead of just walking through with my contractor to look at things. And so it was great. The contractor, he didn't charge me a ton for fixes like that. He was like, it was our bad too, so we'll eat some of the costs as well. But really a learning lesson of if you're going to be out of state, making sure that you have a very specific walkthrough list at the end to make sure that everything gets done and that you're not missing anything.
Amazing. So this first property was a BRRRR, which stands for buy, renovate, rent, refinance, repeat. Right.
Correct. Yep.
And so you said you bought it for $125,000, you put about 40 into it, and you refinanced it. So what are you cash flowing on that property now?
I'm not cash flowing a lot. As far as cash flow, I'm probably making $150, $200 a month as far as cash flow. But the biggest aha moment for me is an additional exit strategy, just another option if things were to go awry, right? Like I forced appreciation, I think like nothing crazy, like 30,000, 35,000. But if things didn't work out, I can turn around and sell it and make $30,000 on it. And it was just like that aha moment, like, okay, it gives me another option. Should I want to move on or need to sell the property? And I have 30 grand in my back pocket. And so that aha moment made me think like, oh, I should really look into these projects more deeply because if you can force something to go from 0 to 30,000 in 3 months, like I don't know any other investment that allows you to do that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's amazing. I mean, I feel like the first project and first deal is always the hardest.
Yeah.
And so I feel like when you go through all that, it definitely gives you a huge like mind shift change, like you said, like, oh wait, I can really do these things. And so I feel like even though you're not cash flowing anything, I feel like the confidence that it gave you is huge.
Yeah.
And
huge learning experience. I'm big about learning. I'll do things even if it'll lose me money just to learn the process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll get into that later for me since I lost 20,000 on my first deal. But okay, so you got one primary here in California. You got one BRRRR in Tulsa. Do you have any more properties there?
I do. I did pretty quickly after that property. I did another rehab project probably like a month or two later.
Wow, amazing.
Picked up a property. It's a bigger property. It's a 5.3, 2,600 square feet. In Tulsa, Oklahoma. It was owned by another investor who was renovating it. It was gutted. And from what I understand, he was trying to sell it in order to do another project. So he didn't have the funds to do the other project. So he just wanted to unload this property. Originally listed in August for, I'm trying to remember for what it was. I think it was for like $255. That was just too much for me to purchase at that time. I put in an offer, I think at like, 220 or something like that. He didn't counter. He's just like, I'm just going to list it on the MLS and see what happens. Mm-hmm. I kept tracking on it. So a couple months go by, put out some feelers, asked him like, hey, interested in still selling this? He's like, yeah, but still not for that price. Got really close to the end of the year. I'm like, hey, do you want to sell this thing before the end of the year? I think I closed like beginning of December. And, he was like, yeah, I want to unload this thing. So I ended up getting it for $225.
Nice.
Put about $70,000 into it. Is that the numbers right? No, I don't think the numbers. I think I got it for $215 and then put 70 into it. Yeah, that's the right number. And then an ARV for $350.
Nice.
So another rehab project that we did that took a little longer. It took about 3 to 4 months to rehab, and I'm running it as a midterm rental in Tulsa, Oklahoma, primarily in the insurance claims route, if you're familiar with that.
Awesome. And for people who don't know, what is a midterm rental?
A midterm rental, simply put, is think of an Airbnb, but you're staying for longer than 30 days.
Okay, awesome. And are you renting out to like any nurses or anything like that over there, or who are you focusing on for clients?
Yeah. So I was mentioning the insurance claims rental route. And so we're primarily focused on people that get displaced from their homes, either through a natural disaster or a fire in their home. It's in Oklahoma, so arguably like right in the middle of Tornado Alley. Mm-hmm. And so it's also a risk and reward of, hey, having a property like that helps facilitate families and having a place to stay, but then also you're kind of in the middle of fire as well. But that's the direction we're taking. Is it's a larger property. It's built for families, and so we're primarily building relationships with insurance claims agents and adjusters, and getting that property rented out.
So are you pretty much just cold calling these insurance agents, or how are you getting these like contacts?
No, it's back to my rockstar agent. So she has those relationships, and with insurance companies, she runs and also manages short-term rentals for a number of people as well. So she handles that, and I also joined another. It's not a database; it's another business where they have a very specific relationships with not just insurance companies, but then also corporate housing and other companies. And so the company is called it's Hestia 360. The owner is Vivian Yip, and she also runs a database called Corporate Housing USA, where you sign up for a service and they market the property to a number of these entities that rent out to people that need places to stay that over 30 days.
Nice. So does this agent, I know you mentioned that she manages your first property. Does she also manage your second midterm rental also?
Yep, she manages that too.
Wow, she sounds like a jack of all trades.
She is. She's, I was talking about her with a bunch of my friends that are in the real estate community, and they're like, that's somebody you don't let go. So.
Yes, keep forever.
Hang
Send
on
her
to
gifts
her.
all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
How did you find her?
A referral through another real estate community I'm part of, through Zen Coast University.
Nice.
They're my friends. They invest in Oklahoma City, and I just made Mike. Do you have any referrals for agents out in Oklahoma? She happens to live in Tulsa, and so she started sending deals out there, and she's done a lot of the lifting without even asking. So she's a pretty incredible person and a great person to have on the team.
That's awesome. Yeah, definitely networking and community is so important. I mean, I feel like because of that, I mean, who you knew, that obviously like vastly impacted all the success that you've had so far.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. So you have 2 properties in Tulsa, and then eventually you get into commercial. What was that mind shift or mindset change that transitioned from like residential to commercial?
Well, it's like I did these 2 properties. They appreciated in value, so forced appreciation. I think the number, like with both properties, I can come out with like $100,000 for forced appreciation. It's cash flowing okay, and then I ran the numbers and looked at my goals, and I'm like, wow, I got to do this. I think like 10 or 15 more times before I can get to like my end goal. How do I do this faster? And then I was talking to my coach, my mentor, Calvin Chin, from Zen Coast, and he's like, if you think about it, commercial real estate or commercial multifamily is pretty much a big BRRRR. The amount of work that you put into like a 20-unit property is probably the same amount of work that you put into your single-family home. There's just more zeros and commas. And so I'm like, I'm like, oh, if I can speed this up and get to the 10 units I need to get to, hit those numbers off of one deal, one property, that makes life so much easier versus trying to go find like 8 more. And so that was the kind of mindset shift of wanting to get into commercial multifamily space.
Okay. How did you get into your first commercial? Did you buy the whole thing yourself? Did you partner with anyone, or what was the size of it? Give me all the details for your first.
So I haven't purchased one specifically for my own yet, but I am a limited partner on a 126 unit apartment complex. Actually 2 units out there, so it's 2 different properties in Twin Cities, Minnesota. And I found that deal through another Zen Coast University coach, Kyle Tucker. He's kind of put it up on his Instagram. It's like, hey, I got this deal. Numbers look great. I look pretty good. I haven't seen one of these in a while. And the numbers worked out, and nothing super crazy. But the thing that kind of triggered on me, like one of the strategies, is that they wanted to refinance within year 2. And so their goal was to get 80% of the investor's money back by year 2, which a lot of terms on if you're a limited partner is they're holding your money for 5 years. And so there's nothing you can do with it. So the ability to be able to get my money, at least 80% of my money, and put that into other projects after year 2 was a big benefit to that project. And so jumped on, and I told Kyle, I'm like, hey, I want to jump on this deal, but I don't want to jump on it just from a financial perspective or investment. I really just want to learn the space. And so that's kind of like what we're doing, is that he's teaching me a little bit about that property and what that entails of being a limited partner and whatnot.
Awesome. So now are you trying to be a general partner and the one like managing and actively being the person who's managing the property?
Yeah, that's the goal, to be a general partner on a commercial multifamily project. I think the one of the biggest draws to also getting to commercial multifamily is it's a team sport. With single family, like, yeah, you build your team, but primarily it's you, maybe one other person. With getting into bigger assets, like there's no way you can do it all on your own. It's a team sport. So just the idea of bringing people along, not only in my goals and my dreams, but helping people achieve their goals and their dreams as well as part of this is a huge draw for me.
Nice. If someone wants to get into commercial, do you think they should start with a single family, then go to a duplex, then upgrade to a fourplex, and then go to commercial? Or do you think someone can go straight to commercial?
Anything's possible. There's a lot of learning. It's the reason why I like commercial is that it's primarily numbers, right? Sure, like single family homes are also numbers, but appraisals are based off of assumptions, like what's the neighborhood worth, what other houses selling for, whatnot. Whereas once you get into the commercial space, it's pure profit or profitability, right? Like how does the business run as far as an asset? So to kind of answer your question, you kind of have to have that mindset to think about that. If you're willing to put in the time and just learn, there's a lot to learn in that space. So jumping into it, I know a few people that that's all they do. They've never gone into the single family space.
Yeah,
it's doable. But if you're trying to do it on your own, there's a lot of things I learned in the single family space, especially doing a rehab project, that I'm going to carry on into like the commercial multifamily space. So I know that wasn't a clear-cut answer to like what you're asking, but it is possible. But I also would say, like, take a look at your goals and what you're trying to achieve, and what makes the most sense, and how do you learn the best.
Okay, awesome. I know you said that for commercial, it's all about building a team and all that stuff. Everyone kind of has their own strengths and stuff like that. What's something or the strength that you bring as far as like to a team, to commercial?
I love looking for deals. I love numbers. I love crunching numbers and underwriting. I know I'm a weirdo, like most people.
It's important. It's the most important thing.
Yeah, I just love that problem solving of looking at a property and pretty much saying, a lot of people look at a property and it's like, oh, is it going to be profitable? Run the numbers, and like, oh, it's not profitable. It's time to move on. I like looking in the sense of like, well, how do I make this property work, right? And so that's what I love about the numbers and the problem solving. It's like, how do you look at different ways to make the property work, and does it make sense? Like, what's the risk in all those different strategies that you're putting forth? And then saying, it's like, okay, you have your worst case scenario, your best case scenario. Does that fit our goals? If it doesn't, then you move on because you've exhausted all the opportunities. But just the process of just problem solving and being creative in that is a big draw for me, and what I feel like I'm good at.
That's awesome. Yeah, numbers and analytics is definitely something I'm not the best at, to be honest. And so I think it's great that you're like that. Yeah, that's awesome. As far as your mindset, how has your mindset evolved over the years as you've done these different deals and stuff like that, just as a real estate investor?
Oh man, to be honest, like, if your mindset has to shift so much in what you know and about finances and real estate and properties when you get into stuff like that, because it's really, it's easy to get discouraged. Anybody that says like real estate investing is easy, it's not. It's really easy to get discouraged, like especially in the market that we're looking at now. I like analyzing deals. I'm a believer of just statistics. Like, if you analyze like 1,000 deals, statistically, you're going to find a deal in there, right? But people that go into that, you're like, wow, I've analyzed 10 deals. I analyzed 20 deals. I haven't found anything. It's really easy to get discouraged. And so the mindset shift that I had to make was not looking for a deal, but how do I get better at doing the deal analysis so that when the opportunity comes, then I'm ready to pounce on it. I think there's a saying that says, like, there's no such thing as luck. Luck is just when opportunity meets preparedness, and the only way you're prepared is by putting in the reps. And so you just go through just the exercise of whatever it is that you're trying to do in real estate, whether that's analyzing deals or doing flips or whatever it is, just get the repetition in
Yeah.
and focus on getting good, really good at that aspect. Inevitably, a good deal is going to fall in your lap and you'll be ready for it. Because if you were to ask me in the beginning of my journey, the opportunity to do a BRRRR, I would have looked at it and freaked out and ran away, right?
Totally.
But just putting in the reps and understanding, being comfortable with it at that point when that came about, I was ready for it and ready to jump and make that work.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I feel like my biggest thing with mindset is like it's very easy for us to like compare ourselves to others, and so I think the most important thing is just like try and be 1% better every day, and just compare yourself to like where you were yesterday.
Yeah.
So it's like obviously me personally, I'm like I see all these people with huge commercial deals. I'm like if I don't have that right now, I feel like I'm losing so much. But at the end of the day, it's like I really don't know too many people, at least personally, that have been doing this stuff. And so I feel like the fact that I'm even taking this action is a huge.
Yeah.
And so,
when you think about it, I think I want to butcher the saying, but a comparison is like the thief of joy or whatever it is. And I fall into that too. I look at people like people that are ahead of me, and I look at what they're doing. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm not even close to that. But they all had to start from somewhere, and they all had to learn from somewhere as well. And so appreciate the journey is like one of those aspects. That's what I love about kind of what we're doing is like you said it just right, is like be 1% better than you were yesterday. And then eventually you look back at, wow, this journey, I actually progressed in this journey pretty far.
Yeah, definitely trying to practice gratitude every day.
Yeah.
I feel like, especially in Silicon Valley, everyone's always like go-getter, trying to be better all the time, stuff like that. It's just like, I think mentally, I've been really trying to focus on my mindset a lot, honestly. And so, yeah, I think just really trying to practice gratitude every day. So I'm, not always chasing the next thing.
Yeah.
Let's see. As far as other things, just really quickly, do you have any favorite books or podcasts?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. On the topic of mindset, one of my favorite podcasts I actually like listening to is I think his account is The Mindset Mentor, Rob Dial. I'm a science nerd. I love data and science, but he talks a lot about mindset, but in the sense of like what actually chemically happens in your brain when you do certain things or have different habits, which is really intriguing. He has a great book. It's called Level Up. That kind of explains those things. So that's one of my favorite podcasts that I listen to. Books, The One Thing, which kind of talks about like how do you become 1% better every day, similar to Atomic Habits is another book I love reading. Rich Dad Poor Dad, not because it's going to teach you like how to do things, but just changes your mindset of like how to think about money. What else is another book I really love? I know there's another one that I really enjoy, but I can't. It's slipping my mind. But those are like the 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever books that come to top of mind that I really appreciate.
Have you ever read the book "Buy Back Your Time" by Dan Martell?
I have not. People have kept telling me I need to read that because I'm infamous for spending a lot of time doing things. Like, Matt, you need to read that book. So it is on my list.
Yes, I just finished it, and honestly, it's a really amazing book. It focuses on how to scale your business, something that you said you want to focus on. And so it kind of just goes through all the different things to focus on, just like obviously figuring out what exactly your hourly rate is that you decide on. And so, for instance, like instead of spending time cleaning your house for a $10 an hour task, delegate that out to someone else, and then focus on the tasks that bring you the most amount of money.
Yeah.
And so I think it's an amazing book. I think everyone should read it, even if you're not in business. So yeah, I think you'd really like that one.
Nice.
Real estate's obviously very stressful. So what's your favorite way to decompress? I know you mentioned living by the beach.
Yeah, I live by the beach. I surf. That's one of my favorite ways to decompress. There's this joke with my friends and actually at my gym because I do it on the weekends. I really like mowing my lawn.
Wow.
To be honest, I do my best thinking mowing my lawn for some odd reason. There's something about I'm a perfectionist in a lot of different ways. So putting down like solid lines on your lawn and and seeing like a pristine cut lawn, and you sit there and you do a lot of thinking just going back and forth. So I don't know what it is, but mowing my lawn, I didn't really realize it. I remember growing up watching dads, uncles, and whatever not mowing their lawn and appreciating like I'm mowing your lawn. Why is that so fun? And then once I got my own lawn, I figured it out. I'm like, oh yeah, this is very relaxing, and I do a lot of thinking doing this.
You need to get one of those like riding lawnmowers.
Oh my gosh! So it's actually really funny is that I live by an elementary school, and so I walk my dog super early in the morning, and I always see the maintenance guys when they mow their lawns. And I told one of them, I was like, hey, if you get sick, let me know. I'll jump in this mower and mow this thing.
So you only like mowing your lawn, or do you like mowing other people's lawns? Because if you like mowing other people's lawns, my mom's got 3 acres, and so she would love to hire you.
Oh man, I won't say no, but I won't say yes yet either.
Okay. That's amazing. Okay, if you can go back in time and give yourself one piece of advice when you were starting, what would it be?
Oh my gosh. If I can go back in time. The advice I would say is don't do things yourself. Build community, build friendships, relationships, partnerships as quickly as possible because real estate is a relationship game. It's who you know. Like I mentioned, like I wouldn't have met my property manager agent if I didn't network within the community that I'm in. They're the ones that are going to help support you. They're the ones that are going to lift you up when you're down. They're the ones that are going to celebrate with you and celebrate your wins. And they're the ones that are going to help you find the team that you're going to be working with. So the faster that you can build those relationships and keep those relationships and find the people that have your back is going to be pertinent to your investing. I've always been kind of like a one-man show. I want to do things by myself, kind of prove to the world that I can do it by myself, and you learn really quickly that you only get so far by yourself.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I mean, for everyone who doesn't know, Matt and I are both in Zen Coast University, so that's actually how we both met. And so, excuse me. Yeah, without that, obviously I wouldn't have met Matt. And so the community is definitely awesome. I think that's definitely the biggest benefit of joining any kind of thing like this is just building relationships and the networking that comes with it. And I don't know about you, but when I first started this, I honestly felt very alone because none of my friends or family do this. And so it's nice to obviously be able to like talk to people and connect with people on similar goals and the struggles and all that stuff. So yeah. So any final thoughts you'd like to share with the audience, or how can everyone connect with you, or if they want to learn more about your work? I know you're trying to raise money and be a GP for commercial stuff. So do you have an Instagram? Do you have a email?
All those things I should probably be better at so people can get in touch with me. I honestly do not. Sorry. I'm trying to figure out the best way for people to get a hold of me. I'll tell you what, I'm supposed to put together a newsletter. Maybe after the fact, I'll give you a link to how you can subscribe to my newsletter, and it'll show up in the notes in this podcast. But right now, I can't. I don't have anything for people to follow because I haven't done that yet.
Okay. Well, you're in marketing. You got to get an Instagram. You got to get a Facebook. You got to get all these different things.
I know. I'm like the worst marketing person with a marketing profile. Like all my stuff from a marketing perspective, like is all the things that you probably shouldn't be doing.
It's hilarious. Well, thanks, Matt. I really appreciate you driving all the way up from SLO to make this podcast happen. And thank you to everyone who made it all the way to the end of the episode. Really means a lot. And I'll see you on the next one. Thank you.
Thanks, Lorenzo.